Welcome back. This lesson is on lesson 4. And first thing I'd like to do is say, thank you for, lasting with us through these first 4 lessons. You're right here. We're almost done with the first 4 lessons of the workbook. So congratulations, and we're well pleased with you for hanging in there and coming back here. This lesson is on valuing your differences between your personalities, your love languages that we'll talk about in the next few minutes between your spouse and yourself. And if you're reading the Yes, Your Marriage Can Be Saved book, you'll notice that lessons with the workbook, the lessons 4 and 5 have been switched, and they'll get back on track again. But they've been switched around for various reasons that we did it that way. But it's very important, this area right here, because it did change. It changed my perspective of who Michelle was, and in so doing that, it changed our marriage for the better.
And that's what started actually bringing fun back into our marriage.
Right. Yeah.
Was because we didn't realize that we were actually gifted with different temperaments. And last week we said that we were going to give you something this week that is not in the workbook. It is in chapter 5 of our Yes book, and that is love languages. So if you've never studied about love languages, we really encourage you read chapter 5 in the Yes, Your Marriage Can Be Saved book, because we go really well into the love languages. Gary Chapman also wrote a book on love languages. He's the one that actually coined the phrase. And so in a few minutes, what we'd like for you to do is we'd like for you, the list of love languages are going to come up on the screen. And because we all say I love you in different ways. Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service.
Mine's gifts.
Mm-hmm. So
I operate in that.
And so what we'd like for you to do is when these 5 love languages come up on the screen, we'd like for you to talk about it at your table or reflect if you're going through the workbook along with a support partner, and talk about which love language you think is your number 1, and then which one you think is your spouse's number 1. So go ahead and take a couple minutes and discuss that at your table.
Okay, you might not think it's very important to know your spouse's love language, but in our opinion, it's very important because just to give a little background on us, I used to buy gifts. My way of showing love is to give people gifts, and I used to buy Michelle gifts all the time, and her love language is words of affirmation, and of course I'm operating mine, which is gifts. And I would ask her, well, did you show somebody that ring I bought you, or did you show somebody the car I got you? And she would go, no, why?
I couldn't understand, because he would say, did you show your mom what I bought you? And I would think,
so that
why?
would frustrate me, and probably you'd understand to get a little angry. And until I found out, after studying this, that I need to be operating for her in her, lifting her up in her love language. I need to be giving her words of affirmation. And if I would have known that, years ago, I could have saved thousands of dollars. And, for me, that's a big deal.
Or at least hundreds.
Oh, at least, no, thousands. It would have been thousands.
Also, it's not just your marriage that it's important to know your love language. That's why we really want you to study this on your own this week. And then in the chapter 5 of our Yes, Your Marriage Can Be Saved book, and in Gary Chapman's material, and taking a test also, because it can help in all your relationships with your children, your parents, your coworkers. So, this is really an important piece, because when people feel unloved, they will actually act out in their weaknesses. Now, hopefully you took your test in the chapter 4 in the lesson this week, and you know what your number 1 temperament is, and hopefully your spouse and children, that you were able to talk to them about it too. When someone feels unloved, what they do is they act out in their weakness. So as you studied in your test and you looked at the list of weaknesses, that's when, if your spouse is really acting out in their weakness, chances are they're feeling unloved. So learn their love language, deposit it into their temperament, into their tank, and then you will start seeing some positive things happen.
One thing also, it wasn't just only me that didn't know this love language thing. It was Michelle as well, because she didn't know mine was gifts. So she would tell me all of these wonderful things that I would do. And of course, that would last for a few seconds. It really didn't register with me. But if she gave me something that did register, but she didn't. And of course, what happens when we don't register with each other, we start feeling unloved. And until we got that for each other, now every once in a while, I'll have a gift. Even if she brings home a chai tea for me, it's
Yes,
awesome.
I do that.
Yeah. And so it makes me feel loved.
So, what the tools this week are focus on your mate's good qualities, that's 4A, and then the other one is verbally compliment your mate in 4B. And, remember also, we're not trying to tell you to label your spouse and to use it against them on their weaknesses. Really, all a weakness is a strength pushed to an extreme. So, I'm mostly choleric. I like to kind of, make lists of things to do, and I feel great when my list gets done. And you like to play.
Yeah, and when we go places, we our second language is quality time. So when we go places, we spend that quality time together, and that's really helped out as well.
And then our temperaments together, our second temperament is the sanguine. And so we like to have fun together. That's my second, and yours is the choleric. So we are balanced in that area. But regardless, Jesus, he had all four. He was balanced. And remember that we've been talking to you all these 4 weeks, that whatever we teach you, you're to take that in balance and use it in balance as you read and go through the workbook and you go through your discussion time and implement these tools into your life. Always do it with the area of balance and with God's word, so that you are the way that the Lord was.
And something wonderful is happening. You've been here now, this is the lesson 4, and something wonderful and supernatural is going on in your relationship, in your marriage, and we just want to keep encouraging you to keep coming back. And as we look forward now to the second part of the workbook, it's where's your heart, and as it gets a little more in depth as we go through the lessons, but encourage you to keep coming back, and we're still well pleased. And Michelle, you've done a great job, so I'm just building her up.
I'll buy you something when we leave today.
And I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. See you next week.